everyone, it's Anne. So the question of the day is, am I a nonprofit? Is the Gift of Happiness a nonprofit? Is Signs of Kindness a nonprofit? And the answer is no. So I wanted to make sure you know that, and also just explain a little bit of how I think about all of that. So I'm not a nonprofit. I did look into that like back years ago when I was first thinking about the concept of the Gift of Happiness. I thought, well, maybe like it really feels a lot of it like a kind of a nonprofit mentality in terms of I want to be able to give to people that aren't necessarily the same ones that are funding the giving. And so a nonprofit kind of is one way of allowing that to happen. But what I found is the problem with nonprofits is that there's a lot of overhead, there's a lot of red tape, there's a lot of regulations, there's a lot of, it just requires all sorts of structure that I didn't have the time for or the money for, and frankly wasn't clear enough about like the details of what that nonprofit mission would be over a long enough period of time to feel like I could go ahead and go through all the hoops and stuff to set that up. And I'm really glad that I didn't, because really what I'm finding is I really enjoy the flexibility of being a sole proprietor, which is what I am now, because it really lets me respond to the combination of sort of the needs that I'm seeing in front of me and in our society, and also just the needs that I have in my life, and I'm not locked into something that might become burdensome in a way that I'd feel trapped by. I just don't want that. But that means, so practically speaking, what that means for you is if you donate to it like a sign for somebody else, don't write that off. That's not okay. Although if you wanted to donate signs like to a school or to a church or some other nonprofit, one way you could do that is you could like do the donation to them and encourage them to spend the money on signs. I mean, you could do it that way. But so logistically speaking, that. But I think there's also a conversation to be had that may be longer than this video about like, where does that question come from? Because sometimes it's phrased to me like along with sort of a, what are you doing here? You know, wait, are you making money on this kind thing? And like there's a lot of skepticism around that. Like, if this is a for-profit business, doesn't for-profit business go with like greedy and ulterior motives and, you know, not in the public good and something that somebody has to be, you know, on guard against and like that. And I think I'm really sensitive to that because I think there's a lot of that in me. Like I grew up with the whole like corporate is bad and greedy and wrong. But I've really, I've been on a journey with that as I meet tons of entrepreneurs and small business owners and people who very much like me have a gift to share. They have a mission to accomplish. They have something that they would like to be able to do with their time, and they need to figure out how to do that. And it involves figuring out a way to get paid for it. And there's this other layer for me of like, where in our history did we decide that in order to do good in the world, like you had to sacrifice money, like you had to be a nonprofit? And where did we decide it was okay for us that corporations or businesses wouldn't do things for the common good? Like, what's that? Like, why would that be allowed for anybody? Why isn't the assumption that no matter what you're doing, that there is some kind of public benefit to it? I mean, this is the rabbit hole. But I will say, so in terms of funding for the Gift of Happiness, so with the Signs of Kindness project in particular, so I use a wholesaler, so I get a discounted rate when I buy them, and then resell them, and I sell them for a profit. But I'm personally pretty happy with where the price point is on them because I get some money from it, but it's still with the discounted price. Like it's cheaper than like if you went to Cafe Press or Zazzle or something like that, and you did your own sign and printed it. Like, coming from me is way cheaper still. So I feel like that's kind of a win-win. And plus I really like, I like being in the mix, and I like kind of knowing where the signs are going. And that's sort of in response to, well, couldn't people just print their own signs? And of course, oh my gosh, do it. You know, if you've got the artistic talent or sort of a different idea of what the word should say or how it should look, do it. And if you're inspired by what I'm doing to go do something on your own that's a little bit more you, awesome, do it, share it with me. I'd love to see it. But I also know that there's real value in making it easy for people. And I think a lot of what Gift of Happiness has been for me is trying to make it easy for people to reach out in kindness. So that's what the cards were all about. Like if you have a You Rock card in your pocket, it's easier to sort of give that message to somebody because it's a little bit less awkward because like here it is, you have this thing. And same with the signs. It's like if you have the idea that you want to send a kind message to the people who pass by your house or your business or wherever, being able to just order it and have it shipped to you, and you don't have to think about what it looks like, you don't have to think about where you're going to get it printed. Like it really, that's a service, and I'm really happy to provide that service. So anyway, those are some of the thoughts related to this question of, am I a nonprofit? Why am I not? And stuff like that. Yeah, I guess I'll just end that there. But if you do have any questions about that or anything, please reach out. And I, as a business owner, what I know is that it's this is something that all of us are just learning along the way, especially people who are kind of reluctant business owners like me. I'm always learning. So if there are things that you have to offer me as I'm trying to develop this and figure out what is my structure and how do I sort of fit into this world of money, send them my way. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks.